Today I'm going to present you a project I made. It's a speedometer, or rather a prototype of one, which is able to display your speed, besides a few other things which I'm going to show later. The microcontroller I used is the so-called Speedoven ESP32C3. It's a very tiny controller which packs most of the features of its bigger brother, the ESP32. It's got Bluetooth Low Energy, Wi-Fi, 11 GPIO pins and built-in battery support, which is all the stuff one needs for a great speedometer. As a display, I used a black and white e-paper display because of its extremely low power consumption and high visibility in sunlight. There would normally be a catch, since ink displays are known for their low refresh rate. The one I used, however, supports the so-called partial refresh, which cuts the time to refresh the whole display down to 1 second, which means I got a refresh rate of 1 Hz, which is totally sufficient for my application. For all of this to work, I heavily refactored the provided display driver. To measure the speed, I'm going to use a system that's already in place on my bike. This system basically gives me a signal every time the front wheel of my bike turns. With this information and the circumference of the wheel, I'm able to calculate the speed. As I previously mentioned, it's still a prototype. I wasn't able to finish it by the end of the deadline, but it theoretically got all the features that I wanted programmed in. All that's missing is a case to mount it on my bike, a rectifier for the signal of the bike, and a bit of polish on the Bluetooth code. Moving on to the features. At the top of the display, the current speed of the driver is shown. In the section below that are a few stats which are only gathered from the speed data. The first one is the average speed, and right below that is the total distance traveled. Beneath the distance is a graph which shows the speed over time. It gets updated every second, and if the line gets to the end of the graph, the whole graph gets redrawn. The last section is for navigation. It always shows the next instruction for the driver and after how many meters or kilometers he has to do it, like taking the slight right turn or a sharp left, or the third exit in a roundabout, etc. etc. All that data is coming from Komoot, which is a navigation app like Google Maps, but specifically for sports like hiking, mountain biking, bikepacking, and a lot of other stuff. The user of this speedometer has to have the app open on a smartphone, and the speedometer is going to connect to it right away. When the user starts the navigation, the speedometer is going to pick up the data from Komoot and is going to display it. Now, a few words to my current setup. I'm aware that this ain't a real bike nor a real smartphone with the Komoot app running. I'm simulating both of those components. The Komoot app is simulated via the ESP32 over Bluetooth Low Energy, just like on a real device. I did this since the Komoot app was sometimes just not sending any signals without me changing anything. And since I had a deadline, I didn't have time to figure out what was going on. The Arduino is imitating the bike since it was more comfortable that way to test my code. This is why the speedometer is displaying such ridiculous speeds. And that pretty much sums it up. Have a good one.